Hi and welcome back to AGB Art. Today you're going along with me to try something I've never done before. I'm pouring acrylic paint on ceramic tile to make coasters. If you enjoy this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel. Let's get started on this journey. I have four 4x4 ceramic tiles that I bought at my local hardware store. These are not the tiles that are 15 cents each. These were a bit more. Apparently, a lot of people are using 4x4 tiles. This is the back of them. I'm going to take rubbing alcohol and paper towel and completely clean off the tiles. You want to make sure you get the oils from your hands and anybody else's hands off of them. I'll use these little Dixie cups as stands to put them on while I paint. And here are my colors. I've got this deep turquoise, a bright blue, and a lovely gold. All three of those I picked up at Michael's. I'm using a Valspar sample. This is from Lowe's hardware store, and it costs about $4 for this 8 ounces of paint. I mix my paints with this ratio. I wait to add drops of water. I'm mixing the white here. And this particular white, the titanium white, I'm mixing with water only because I've been finding I get really good cells with just water only. This is a culinary torch I got from Amazon, and it's good for popping air bubbles. It also brings up cells in your paints. And I'll also be using a straw to blow out the paint. I'm adding a couple of drops of water just to thin this white out a little bit. It seemed very thick coming out of the sample container. I'm trying to show you how it streams off the stick. It's just very hard to do on video. So I'm pouring puddles of white on each tile, and then I will tilt the tiles and try to cover each tile. And I'm noticing right away that the paint is still very thick. I think later on I realized I wished that the white had run off the tiles, much like you would want on a canvas. There's one that's dripping. Once I think the tiles are covered well enough with the white paint, I take my culinary torch and pop air bubbles. And I think that I see a lump there, so I'm just trying to pick it out. It's always good to have a pair of tweezers nearby in case a bug or something flies in. Now I'm putting my colors on the tiles, and I'm just drizzling them. I find that the dark turquoise is super thick. It really is not drizzling off of that stick, and it takes a little bit of extra work to get it on the tiles. I get the torch again, and I'm torching to see if there's any cells going to come up, and then I realize that there's really not that much paint on the tiles. So we're going to drizzle some more paint on these tiles. I want them colorful, and I absolutely love that blue. Now I'm taking the straw and blowing. But you can see on that first tile, I really have no idea what I'm blowing. And it takes about the second or third tile when I realize I need to just blow straight down. I used my mouth there for a second. That didn't really do anything. If you blow straight down, you're separating the paint, and that's how you're going to get the cells. I'm spreading the paint by blowing through the straw. There we go. Now you can see. I blow straight down, and you've got that bright blue coming out. After torching again, I pick up one of the tiles and think about maybe I could tilt it, because there are still parts around the edges of the tile that don't have any paint on them. I take my metal palette knife and I'm just sort of swiping the color, but also trying to get it closer to the edges of the tile. When I swipe like this, I tend to get more cells. And so I'm just pulling more of the blue out towards the edges. I'm just touching up and adding extra color. And I'm thinking, woo, tile number 3 got a little too much blue there. I take the palette knife and I'm just sort of pulling paint to the sides. I'm still a little concerned that there's some sides where there's no paint. And when I do that swiping motion, I tend to get more cells. Here I'm adding a little more gold. And swiping, I'm using the side of the palette knife. It makes a much smaller line. More blue. I love that blue. And I'm realizing at this point how much time I've spent on these 4 tiles. It's really a lot more work, and now I'm giving major kudos to all of those YouTube artists that make tiles. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be. It's really hard for me to paint something small. So this is quite a challenge. Now I'm adding the titanium white. I had totally forgotten that color. And as I blow down on it to spread it, I'll see some cells come up. My plan is to let these dry and cure for 3 to 4 weeks. And then I'm going to spray them with Engine Enamel spray that you can get at your auto supply store. The reason why you're using a special spray is so that you can put hot beverages on the coasters and the coasters won't get sticky. I've read online that this Engine Enamel spray works really well. I am not a big fan of epoxy resin. I've used it twice on glassware vases, and I find that it is not a safe product. It requires you to have a lot of safety gear, including an intake-outtake ventilation system that I don't have. Now I'm taking the stick and I'm just getting the drips off. Off camera, I'll be using my finger to make sure those drips are off. And here are the finished tiles. I'm super excited about these. I did get some cells in there, and I just love the blue and the gold and the turquoise and the white. They're very pretty. I've heard about people who sell these as coasters for about $25 for a set of 4. So we'll see. I have my first art fair the 3rd week of September. I'm very excited and of course a little nervous, and perhaps these will be for sale. I'll be back in a couple of weeks for part 2 of this video, when I'll show you how to spray the coasters and how to glue cork on the back of them, and we'll see how they turn out.